Hello, my name is Elijah Wells, and today's review is the new Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly's new movie, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. The movie stars Chris Pine as a bandit who goes by the name of Ergen, who is basically the Harper, who basically has an oath of being not just a thief who steals in a way that's very beneficial to the poorest people of society, but also does it without rewarding himself and questioning the motives. But one particular mission which he had with accomplices being Helga, portrayed by Michelle Rodriguez, and as well as Forg, played by Hugh Grant, after which Forg had done some law backstabbing, and the entire movie set is featuring Erdogan with Chris Pine, and along with other cast like Regé John Page and Justin Smith, Sophia Laris, as they try to get back at Hugh Grant's character, being Hugh Fitzwilliam. Video game movies have came a long way right now, not just with the recent series like Last of Us on Max or HBO Max, but it's HBO Max nevertheless, and also with Cyberpunk Edgerunners on Netflix, which is a series I absolutely enjoy. But there's also like recent adaptations as well, like the Sonic movie. But let's not forget about there was the massive like nearly 20-year gap where video game movies were basically written off like critical or box office poison. Like, even though there's Resident Evil, which has its fair share of fans and a cult following at best, and a Netflix adaptation, there's also films like the really infamous Mario movie from 1993 with Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo, who was allegedly so bad that Bob Hoskins said it was his biggest regret in his career. And also, let's not forget about the almost dreaded filmography of Canadian-German filmmaker Uwe Boll, who made films like House of the Dead and Blood Rain and Alone in the Dark, films that were so poorly received that he ended up winning like an honorary Razzie just on how horrible these movies were. But again, I really like the progression that the entire genre is taking at a moment with these adaptation movies, and the movie Dungeons and Dragons is definitely no exception, because I really did enjoy the movie at the end of the day, even though I myself had never played a board game at all. Even though I have a lot of ideas about it, I know it's a very popular game, and it's also had like an adaptation done already, so my expectations were sort of on the high, even though again I didn't play games, but again I came out of it satisfied. Each of the characters in the movie have very intricate backstories that make them really well defined and well rounded, and there's definitely well-noted character development and character arcs that do get resolved at the end, which is really good fundamentals and like important screenwriting, which this movie does capture really well. The world building, even though I wish it can went in a direction like how the world functions outside of the characters themselves, like something out of Lord of the Rings, like how this world functions in the between, like everything that goes on in the background, which is something I like about the trilogy, but I wish I kind seen more of it, like something that's a little bit more friendly to something that's someone like me who's not too familiar with the games, but it was also at the same time done in a way that is very friendly to people that are not too familiar with the games, and doesn't like bog you or like ward you to the point where you have to be a fan to watch this. Like the movies are made with the reassurance that fans are going to love it and non-fans are going to love it. Even though I wish I could like understood the tributes to the source material that was portraying a little bit more better, but again, I would say the set decoration, the ideas, and the overall world, like design of it, is really gorgeous in my opinion. Again, yeah, it is definitely a type of world where it's really well defined and has some decent world building put behind it, and a lot of work, a lot of efforts done into it. The humor in the movie is brilliant, and the tone, which does strike a really consistent balance here and there of horror and comedy, which, again, there are a couple of jump scares in the movie, and there's a lot of laughs in the movie, so it definitely does even now, and it's definitely aware of the tone, not to make it too inconsistent like a superhero movie where the tone just gets way too muddled and gets too like blended in to the point it becomes way too inconsistent. All the characters in the movie are really great, particularly Reggie Jean Page's character, who's pretty much the no-nonsense high knight person, even though I think again his motives are a little bit not the most well-rounded, but he does have the most grim backstory, or one of the pretty grim backstories out of a lot of the characters. Again, he's basically the no-nonsense master who doesn't quite grasp sarcasm. And there's also Hugh Grant's character, which I think is probably one of my favourite characters in the movie, as he's basically the most comedically fun, like almost the evil uncle, but the evil fun uncle of the entire film. Like, the stuff he does is evil, like brainwashes Edwin's daughter into his submission, and of course, again a little bit of a kick out of it. Like, he's just such a fun character, even though a lot of the stuff he does is not so great. And of course, hanging out with the Red Riches, whilst trying to stay somewhat of a coup behind his back. Which I'm not sure whether it's just him being oblivious or he's just kind of just tagged along with the with her idea, and he just like, well, it's your plan, so here's your plan. And the action choreography is is really good as well, particularly coming from a comedy director, since the directors have done up to this point like written and directed films like the Vacation movie with, I think it had Chris Hemsworth in it back at 2015, as well as Horrible Bosses, which again does show that they are not just very capable of doing comedies, but they are capable of doing like fancy epic movies like this one. And particularly how they choreographed the scene, like when Reggie Jean Page's fights off a whole horde of like red riches in the cave, which is really interesting, and particularly in the final fight scene, which is really well done, to be honest. Even though it may be a little bit CG reliant for some crowd, but I personally really enjoyed it, and particularly using a lot of distraction techniques in the movie, and using these power strength things to some really interesting use. So then, even though I haven't talked about a lot of the film in too much great detail, but that's what I'm gonna say. I enjoyed the film, even though I've not played the games, to really like fully indulge myself into this world. Whether you're a fan of the Dungeons and Dragons, or you're not, or someone like me who's definitely heard of the games but never like dipped my toes into the game myself, this is a film that a lot of people are undoubtedly going to enjoy. Like, visually, the movie's brilliant, the action scenes are great, the performances from all the cast members gave it all. The writing, the humour in the movie is brilliant, the jump scares in the movie are very consistent, and I just really enjoyed this movie, and the tone of the movie is extremely consistent, and the music is pretty great, and pretty much a lot of set pieces in the movie, and all the ways the characters interact and the chemistry like bouncing off of each other is again really good. So I'm feeling a 7 out of 10 for this one. So what do you think of Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves? Let me know in the comments below, like this video, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and this is Larger Worlds, and bye.